main session today. We have almost 1,500 people, 1,600 people logged on to the session between LinkedIn, Twitter, our sites. The content has really got the fancy. It's one of our larger conferences, and that's the beauty of digital. I remember my conversation late last year with you. Things in the last 7 weeks have been very, very grim. And you both in your personal capacity as an entrepreneur through your foundations and through your organization have been trying to contribute in multiple ways. So my kudos to you for doing that. Let me start by asking you, when we discussed, again, Mr. Mariwala doesn't really need an introduction, so I won't not do that sacrilege of introducing him. But apart from being an entrepreneur, he's an author. He's very passionate about fitness. And I remember when I first met him at the book launch of Rachna Chachi, he gave this incident of when he flies, he reaches early and he walks at the airport so as to do his daily quota of walking. So now let me ask you, what has changed between the COVID-1 and COVID-2 in terms of your thinking as a leader? We've been talking of VUCA for at least 20 years, but really, if one had to describe current times, they're really VUCA, and we've titled our session "Leaders in Radical Times." So, what has changed in your thinking in the last 7-8 weeks?
Yes. So, I think before I step into the exact question, I think let me differentiate how the first wave is different from the second wave, and then I'll step into the likely implications on leadership behavior. As we all know, the first wave was less infectious. The second wave is far more infectious. The first wave was targeting more towards the senior citizens. The second wave is also impacting the younger generation. The first wave was not as fatal, and we are seeing higher fatalities in the second wave, and especially amongst people whom we know, whether it's our family members or our friends or our colleagues. And I think that's very, very scary, So the fear of death is very high in the second wave compared to the first wave, where there was fear of unknown. What will happen to me? So let me just run away and be migrant, go away or wherever, because I don't know what will happen. But now it's clear that it could lead to death. And on top of that, the delays in vaccination and the healthcare facilities and some more complications in terms of the black fungus and whatnot. So I think we are in a situation where the anxiety levels have just shot up dramatically if you catch COVID. And I think that has to be dealt with in the right, appropriate manner. I'll come to that. The first one was mainly amongst urban poor. The second wave is not only urban high rises, but also rural. The first wave was a complete lockdown, and now we are seeing partial lockdowns depending on the state, but not as severe as the first lockdown, national lockdown in the first wave. We saw huge migration in the first wave. Second wave, I think migrations have happened, but not as much as in the second wave. So some people have gone back home, fear of death, but not to the extent at which it happened in the first wave. And in coming to our own business, we saw a lot of panic buying in the first wave because people didn't know what will happen. So people just started storing up things like food and all that much beyond the requirements. This time we have hardly seen panic buying, So there is no panic in terms of non-availability of goods and all. I think the first wave we've seen that the corporates were able to bounce back once the lockdown was lifted. Second wave, I find that the corporates are prioritizing health and safety of their employees over performance, So if there is an issue of safety or infections, then it's better to keep the factory closed or office closed or whatever way which will protect the health. And I think that's a big shift. And finally, the first wave had low inflation, the second wave, relatively high inflation. So I think looking at all that, I see that the shift has been more towards safety to deal with very high levels of anxiety. That means in the first wave, we used to do town hall meetings and, talking to people in general, giving them overall assurance that things are in place as far as the company is concerned. Our production is back in cycle. You'll get paid your salaries, and keep them occupied rather than anything else. So lots of initiatives in the area of having webinars for not only our own employees, but for the family members. It gave us a great opportunity to actually get closer to the family members, And we did lots and lots of initiatives to involve family members, had contests, competitions, art competition, Zumba competition, cookery, and so many things we've done. We went overboard in ensuring that people didn't get bored sitting at home, because the first wave was more to do with boredom and fear of the unknown. And as long as I was protected, I didn't get infected. And even if I got infected, most of the time it didn't lead to fatality. So I think it was more to the first wave. The leadership had to deal more with giving, shall I say, comfort to your own employees, and not only your own employees, but we went all the way to our own associates, whether it's our subcontractors. We also went to the customers wherever there was a direct contact in a business like Kaya, where we did webinars and talked about the need for skincare through webinars. So I think the first wave showed that we had to be very authentic and give a true and fair picture of what was happening in the organization. We had to show very high degree of empathy, caring, but the second wave, empathy, caring just dramatically increased. So we had to go overboard in ensuring that whether it's availability of hospitals or availability of oxygen or medicines, or in the area of mental health, we trained our own senior leaders to be wellness coaches. In addition to that, we already were doing a lot of work in the area of mental health. So the magnitude of impact or the worry which the second wave has unleashed is far higher, and there is so much of anger in the system that we had to deal with these challenges in a different manner. And I think that's the big shift between the first and the second wave. The first wave, as I said, was basic health, immunity, lead a safe lifestyle, don't take too many risks in terms of going out, secure as far as your financials are concerned. But the second wave is more to do with safety, health, and if something happened to you, we are there behind you in terms of online consultations, hospitals. If you had somebody from your family infected, when should they get into a hospital? So a lot of hand-holding at a personal level was being done in the second wave. And even we decided that whoever got infected, our direct members who got infected, there will be a phone call from head of HR. There will be a phone call from MD wherever the MD knew that person. So that personal, shall I say, connect was maintained, that comfort was there, that okay, there is somebody behind me in ensuring my recovery from the infection. So I see that, these are the big differences between the first and the second wave. I don't know whether, is that the question you were asking, or is it?
Yes. So because of the differences, one difference is critical. Is first time we thought that it's the only time it will come and it'll go away. At least we hope for that. Now the second wave proved that not only it can come multiple times, but it can be severe than what it was. So that as you shared that necessity, you could take extra care.
And now that the infection, and now, sorry for interruption, but now that the infections are under control, I think the whole emphasis is shifted on vaccination. We have started in-company vaccinations to not only to our own members, which we give it at our cost, but to the family members also we are subsidizing to the extent of 50%. So any family member can actually come to our offices. Currently it's going on, vaccination. And also whenever there is some sad news, then we give them financial support, assistance. If there is somebody from the family who has lost his life because of this, we go to the extent of giving financial assistance also to our own employees, as well as our key associates.
Go on. So, and hence that was your response. But I'm saying, of course, as a leader, you said that the focus initially was to be able to provide beds, oxygen, and look at the curative aspect of it. Then it focused to employee well-being, and now it has shifted to vaccination, right? But in terms of some of the you've been around for a long time, you built this company, and last year we spoke about the fact that leadership is same in every time, but it needs to come into action in a much deeper way as your purpose than ever. But what I'm trying to ask you, Mr. Mariwala, is what is it that you thought in the last 7-8 weeks that you possibly never thought that deeply in the past? Of course, Adam Grant calls it languishing. We all went through that feeling of languishing. And in some way, while whatever we do makes an impact, we thought whatever we do is not good enough to save lives, in our personal spheres, in our professional sphere, in spite of our best efforts. But beyond that, what as a leader, what did you kind of come to a realization that something else needs to happen for life to go on?
See, I think first of all, the whole second wave, if there was proper planning, and enough has been said on that front, whether it's planning for vaccination, planning for healthcare facilities, planning for medicines, oxygen, we had enough time, and I think we can't be complacent. This virus is very unpredictable. And now there is a talk of third wave also likes to come in, whether it will hit. And we have to go overboard and be extra cautious, even if it means spending some money, and some of the money may go waste in terms of creating facilities, but you can't take it lightly. That's the key thing, at least I've realized. And number two, when it hits people in terms of deaths, it's a lot of anger also. Oh my God, what could we have done differently? What can I do at a personal level, Because beyond a point, my role at an entrepreneur level, I can't prevent it. Now that the vaccinations have come in, at least hopefully I will be able to vaccinate everybody, whoever is connected to us. But in between, before vaccines came in, about a month or two back, when we were not able to get vaccines, it's almost helplessness. Okay, I have to deal with the situation, and whatever I can do in terms of oxygen, beds, whatever, I have to go overboard in ensuring that this happens. And again, prioritizing safety over performance, because no point saying that we have to perform and deliver our products to all our retailers. So a lot of, coming to the business side, a lot of trust and shift to technology and the culture part of us has played a very, very important role. In the first wave also itself, we were one of the first organizations to go into production within 15 or 20 days of the national lockdown, because we as an organization, a very flat organization, highly empowered, and it's not a control kind of a environment where the boss instructs people and others do it. They get empowered. So in a virtual world, empowerment and culture played a very, very important role in moving things very, very fast. So interfunctional coordination in terms of materials, production, dispatches, distributors, and the team did exceedingly well in this area because of the investments we had made in the culture side. And then everybody, we call each other by first name. There is no interfunctional barriers. People can interact with anybody else in the organization at one-on-one level. So I think that cultural investment really helped us in terms of going off the ground at a very, very quick pace. And now in the second wave, what has happened is, yes, that culture still continues, but the safety and the fear of getting contacted is so high that we said that we can't go overboard. We have to be extra cautious, and we can't allow our people to take risks, especially going to the marketplace like all our field force. So we have gone into now taking orders on phone, digitally through our own distributors, wholesalers, retailers. We have actually taken big steps in terms of ensuring that our e-commerce contribution increases dramatically, but because that's a habit which the consumer themselves have taken to, the fact that they've been buying through e-commerce for last more than a year or so. And the percentage, earlier we were, I think 3% of our sales used to come through e-commerce. Now today, if you look at it, 8 or 9% of our sales come through e-commerce. So there's a big shift in the way we are doing business. Of course, the modern retail stores are the biggest sufferers. The e-commerce and the grocers are the ones which have done well. But I think connecting them digitally and looking at digital way of actually operating has played a very, very important shift in the wave one as well as wave two. So whether it's working from home or, earlier, I would not hesitate a bit to call you to my office for a half an hour meeting. Now I will always say, do I need to call Annurag? I can do it over a Zoom call. So I think our mindsets have shifted. The fact that we have operated like this for more than a year or so, it means that we will change the way we work. Our business model will change, and we will increasingly look at digital ways of working together, whether it's with our distributors or having meetings. Tomorrow, I'm not going to call somebody for an interview from outstation just for a 1 hour interview. In the past, I would never have thought of doing it digitally. So, and also work from home is something depending on the kind of business one is in. I for one believe that there is a merit in interacting socially, and if there is high degree of interdependence between people, you will need to combine that with work from home. So have a flexibility of asking people to work from home. But in our kind of business, there will be a lot of interactions, dialogues, because dialogues lead to diversity, different ways of thinking, innovation. So we want all that to happen, and everything cannot be done to work from home. My individual level, if like in IT, if your work is completely at an individual level, then you may want to shift to work from home. But at least for us, we believe that we'll need to have a combination from work from home as well as office attendance.
Thank you so much. Now I want to focus on other aspect. The future of life has changed in some way because of this hybrid model, if not a pure play digital. Some aspects of life are physical. Education has changed. Retail has changed.
Yes.
Entertainment has changed.
Yes.
The future of work is different. It's work from anywhere. Now, I want to ask you, in your view, and let me on an optimistic note say that we're able to vaccinate all our population and we have the choice of being fully physical out there.
Yeah.
What are the behaviors you think will stay and what are the behaviors that you think will go away? Because we were compelled to do what we were doing, but now that we have choice, what do you think will stick and what do you think will give way?
So as I mentioned earlier, some of the shorter meetings which require travel, whether within a city or whether it is out of city, 1 hour meeting, half an hour meeting, I think people realize that they will do it online. No point calling people to the office. That's clearly, short-term meetings is clearly, but full day interactions for people working from home, I think it will be a combination depending on the kind of business one would be in. If, as I said earlier, if you're individual business, you may give more and more work to an individual who can do it from home. And I think that gives you a flexibility of hiring people from small towns. You will expand and the cost of living in those cities also will be lower. So you'll be able to get diverse talent at a much, much economical cost. So I think that depending on the kind of businesses, one would go on doing that. I feel that. And travel also, I reckon, will reduce to some extent because, earlier we used to go just travel so if it is essential, of course, if there is a 1 or 2 day interaction, one would travel, but just to meet for a 1 hour, 2 hours, I don't know to what extent the government offices would want to do Zoom meetings in future or clients like, doctors, lawyers, would they be willing to do it? But I think everybody has to change, in my opinion. I think there are benefits of digital. And if you realize what are the benefits and combine that with benefits of social interactions, I think you will have some sort of a hybrid model, in my opinion. It will not be either the social side and the physical side will increase. As they call it, we'll move towards more of a digital world rather than a digital or a physical world.
Fantastic. Yeah. And again, it brings me to this. It is my own personal hypothesis. You may or may not agree with it. And in some way, you've given me a segue into it, that a lot of experiences will be virtual. As you said, job interviews. Today, we are much more comfortable doing it virtually and accomplishing what we need to accomplish. And maybe if it's a CEO, you would like to spend some time, but possibly everybody else we could hire through virtual interaction. But I have a theory which I believe in, which the more it becomes digital, the more it becomes virtual, the more it is done in a manner that it doesn't bring people face to face. Anything that has touch, anything that has feel, anything that is face to face becomes premium, right? And it has implications for many industries. It has implications for the consumer economy. So do you buy that in future physical experiences will stay? And let me quote Rakesh Junjunwala, who yesterday remarked that, hotels and airlines and travel in 18 months will be back to a level that we cannot imagine. And there'll be, it will be kind of a revenge buying. And he said, anyway, when somebody asked him about hotel stocks, he said, nobody's buying them right now. And in 5-6 years, nobody would sell them. So basically, he's talking of physical experiences. So do you believe that physical experiences will have a premium on them? And that creates the return of experiential economy post-vaccination and hopefully some control over the virus?
So I think what Rakesh could have mentioned, I've heard him not yesterday, but heard him earlier. I heard him say that all the hotels will be full, but I think he may be referring to the pent-up demand for tourism, which may lead to this kind of utilization level. The pent-up demand is so high that people just want to get out, And when about a few months back, when Bombay was not under lockdown, all the hotels were doing staycation, over the weekend. Just go there and 2 days spent in a 5-star hotel and just have a difference of kind of surroundings. So I think he's referring more to the leisure side of it, in terms of holidays, not so much to do with the work-related tourism and work-related travel. I think that's what he may be referring to. I don't know what, but I think the work-related travel will definitely go down in my opinion.
Thank you so much. So clearly, business travel has been changed, it has been morphed, and we will clearly be relying on technology and virtual tools to accomplish some of the business objectives that we would achieve through travel. I want to move into an area that you have in the past also talked about, and I'm not talking about past in 2020, but in 2015, in 2016, in 2017, in my last conversation with you in 2020, is mental well-being. The emotional safety, of employees has become very, very important. The mental well-being of every individual has become very, very important. Do you see that a significant amount of the corpus of the companies will be now deployed towards, on a continuous basis, trying to add to their mental and emotional well-being?
I don't know whether you're aware, Annurag, but this is a subject very dear to my heart. I am running a big organization from my personal side. It's known as Mariwala Health Initiative, and we work a lot with on the area of mental health. We may be one of the most leading agencies in India today in the area of mental health. So we support something like 15 or 20 different organizations, but our concentration is more in rural India. It's more amongst marginalized communities, those who need this help. So there are, apart from that, we run this iCall. We support iCall fully, which is a 23-member telecom as well as e-commerce line, which any query anybody has, they can approach them without, it's completely confidential, and we support that fully. But clearly, the post-pandemic, because we're running this for last 6 years or so, our overall, we are not able to cope up. The volumes have gone up almost 40%. So this is one area which has been neglected by everybody, starting with the government to people, and there is a stigma attached to it. People don't want to go to visit a counselor if there is a mental health, because what will others think of me? How will I be perceived in the society? So there is a huge stigma to mental health which needs to overcome. That's the first step, which it will take time. It is to some extent getting overcome, but now these kind of helplines all can help. You don't need to go to a counselor. Also, you can, sitting at home in your own whatever room, and through your own mobile, you can actually get advice and counseling. But clearly, this pandemic has accelerated the anxiety levels, the stress levels. As such, the stress levels in the Indian society are very high because of exams and getting admissions and relationship issues and staying in joint families, marital issues. So I think we have neglected all this, and there is a huge potential for us to invest much more in the area of mental health. And I think all of us have to take it very, very seriously, whether it's organizations which can help their own employees to overcome these issues. Every person goes through some sort of stress and anxiety in their lives. And, one out of this, I don't have the exact number, but 1 out of 5 or so at any particular point of time is suffering from some mental health. And the price we are paying in terms of impact on productivity is huge. And the worst is, when somebody loses life because of the mental health, that's terrible, So a lot more needs to be done. And this pandemic again has shown that we need to do much more. I think organizations are far more open to working with service providers, at least for their own members. And I think the society also is getting used to saying that, okay, it's something which it's like if I have a fever, then it's okay for me to go to a doctor. Similarly, if I have a mental health issue, I can go to a counselor. There is nothing wrong with that, because the level of issue I may have is minor. It can be dealt with a proper counselor, and if I neglect it, it can actually accelerate into a huge crisis. So you have to take that proactively, and uh, put your mind to peace in terms of, if you can, through that advice.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mariwala.
Yeah.
Since you represent India Inc., the business world, really you're among the foremost entrepreneur in India who have a voice in the Indian civil society and not just in the business space. I would like to ask you this question. How do you think have the Indian business leaders in India Inc. Fared as leaders in terms of discharging their duties as leaders in the last 7-8 weeks? How would you qualitatively describe the response of India Inc.? If I may say, have they led with their heart? Have they led with their emotions? Give us a sense of how compassionate, because they're all your friends. I want an honest answer from you.
So I don't think there is one straight answer saying that all of them have dealt in. I think you will have varying degrees of response. But clearly, I think issues of empathy, caring have surfaced, and whenever I've talked to people, they've said that it's okay. It's okay if I can divert some of my oxygen to the hospitals. If I'm using oxygen, for example, or it's okay to give a vaccine at my cost to all our employees, irrespective of the cost. It may go up to, depending on the number of employees, it can go up to 1 or 2 crores also. But clearly, I think there is higher degree of empathy and caring, which is shown by organizations. And I think there is a rub-off effect. Somebody does it and you read about it, or somebody, if one of your colleagues has expired because of COVID, then what kind of support do you need to give? So, and all these gets reported in the press, through media. So there is a rub-off effect that, okay, if that person is done, I also need to do. And there is, to that extent, I think, pressure coming in from the stakeholders also, that you
and a positive impetus.
In a positive, yeah. So I think there is a reinforcement coming in from different angles, from your colleagues as entrepreneurs, from your employees themselves, bottom up pressure from HR department, from media. So when you get this message reinforced from different angles, you start seeing that the ball is rolling. And even if those employees who are not looking at these issues in the past have started moving in a positive kind of a way towards this.
My last question before I let you go. Yeah. So Mariwala, if you had to make 1 or 2 predictions about the future that engulf our life, for example, you were passionate about eradicating or in some way addressing non-communicable diseases in terms of a wellness business venture, in terms of the foundation which does mental health work. So you were ahead of the curve. You did it a decade back or more than that back. Now, clearly, health has become the new focus for everyone. Immunity is a very big focus.
Yes.
The right lifestyle is a very big focus. So
yes.
What are your predictions in terms of the consumer economy? I wanted to ask you about the valuations of consumer digital companies, which are clearly very valuable. The only thing debatable is the multiples they're getting, but clearly they're very valuable. There's no question about that. So what I'd like to know from you, how do you see the future? What are some trends that you're being able to spot and our viewers can benefit from that?
So clearly, I think some of the trends, and you can look at it from an opportunistic point of view, are that, first of all, there is the whole digital shift. So your business model, can it look at encashing the digital boom, whether it is calling people, working from home, if you're in education, e-commerce, in a business like e-consultation. So whole digital way of digital acceleration is one big trend. The second trend is, as you rightly put it, is health. So people want to lead a healthy lifestyle, and when I'm talking of health, I'm just not talking physical health, mental health, spiritual health. So all the initiatives in this, through food, through exercise, through gym, through meditation, through yoga, I think all these are going to continue accelerating in future, because people have realized what it means to lead a healthy lifestyle. Even in a lockdown, the pollution levels are lower, and so people have said that I think the whole health is getting. The third is hygiene, whether it's sanitizer, washing hands. I think that's another area which is getting a lot of traction. So I would say these are health, hygiene, and digital waves are immunity. I don't know to what extent. We also have launched some immunity products like Kada and turmeric milk. To some extent, it had some spike immunity. I remember one of my friend who was in pharma. The first wave, all of a sudden, shortage of vitamins. Then the vitamin sales just dropped dramatically when the first wave ended, and again they've picked up. So, to what extent this immunity will continue on a perpetual basis, one does not know. But health will definitely continue, all types of health. Digital will definitely continue, all types of digital, and the business model also will change. So, these are some of the things. And finally, in the area of ESG, I think people have realized that ESG is getting demanded by all the stakeholders, whether it's your own shareholders or your employees, your board. That overall, what am I doing in terms of environment, what am I doing for society, and what am I doing in the area of governance? These will play a very, very important role. ESG has actually gone on top of the agenda of the CEOs today, because new employees, they want to know, are you making products which are causing harm to the environment? Then you have to have a roadmap that, for example, we use a lot of plastic, but 100% of plastics are reused in India. So, I don't feel guilty because they are reused for making some other plastic products, So, but I think if you are having a problem in terms of some environmental issue or society or governance, then I think organizations will be forced to improve on that through a lot of pressure from all the stakeholders.
Thank you, Mr. Mariwala. Though I said last, but I want to ask you about a thing that I've been thinking for the last 2 weeks. I know you're the professionally run company. You brought in a professional CEO a long time back. I remember I came to your office 5 years back, and you're a coach from Singapore in terms of how to, even go to the next level in terms of governance. Yeah. You've been ahead of the curve. But recently, another leading consumer goods company hired a CEO, and within a single day, its stock price shot up by 21%. I don't have to tell you the names. So clearly, governance and CEOs are unlocking value like never before. So the right leaders and right leadership, and which is not necessarily, family controlled, and bringing the right professional can unlock value. How do you see that trend getting accentuated in future?
It will accelerate because, ultimately valuations, you're clearly seeing that any company which is well governed today, and that governance will move on to ESG, as I said earlier. It was governance earlier, but now what are you doing? Environment, society, and governance. So ESG compliant companies will start getting more valuations and more preference from all the stakeholders, whether it's your own employees, or board, or whoever else, or the society. Number two, I think good quality talent will play a very, very important role, and the earlier mindset that just because it's a family-owned organization means that another family member will succeed the promoter or the founder. I think it'll start getting questioned. It'll not happen overnight, but over a period of time, we'll start seeing that the best man, whether it's a family member or whether it's a professional, they will manage the business, and that will get demanded by all the stakeholders. Just because you are born in a family doesn't mean that you are entitled to run the company. I think what is good for the company will come first, and what is good for any other stakeholder, whether it's promoters or employees, will come second.
Fantastic. I wish that accelerate because it creates value for every stakeholder. Yeah. And we've seen
one more point. I think, Annurag, since I'm getting an opportunity, as you mentioned, I'm writing a book which is now under print, but because of this pandemic, we have just decided to defer it by a month or so. So sometime in July, we will launch it, and I think it captures all these things what you asked, not the pandemic part, but other things in terms of leadership behavior, ESG, purpose of an organization, and I think I would urge all.
We'd love
all
to
the
have a
people
conversation. And why don't you give the name of the book?
The name of the book is Harsh Reality.
Yeah, that's a play on his first name, and the reality. So
it's already. I think it's already appearing on the. You can pre-order. You can do it on Amazon. Yes. I saw it. It's already there.
We'd love to have a conversation once I've read a copy.
Sure. So
I will order it on Monday itself, and I'll make sure.
But only the delivery will only come sometime in July, because currently the print also is held up because of all these issues. It's published by Penguin. Yeah, and I also have a co-author in Professor Ramcharan, whom I'm sure you know.
He's a preeminent professor. He's a strategist, thinker, writer.
So
I've read
I'm
all
looking
his books.
forward. Yes. I'm very close to him. So he agreed to give his insights on my story.
Thank you so much. I'm sure.
Thank you, Annurag.
We look forward to the harsh reality. I'm sure there'll be, pearls of wisdom that in your entrepreneurial journey, in your journey of giving back to the society, younger entrepreneurs and professionals can learn. So we look forward to the harsh reality. Thank you for your time, Mr. Mariwala. We look forward to a conversation in July again. And I promise you on Monday I'll order a book. And Mr. Mariwala, I'm a book freak. I'm
Give me
so
I
order every book that I can order and read most of them. I can't say I read all and I get lots of complimentary books. And 3 years back, we constituted the India Book Lit Fest, which we used to do physically in October every year. But last year we did it virtually. So we'd also invite you to talk about your book. We only invite authors which are business authors, non-fiction. And we call it the genre of life. Life is about leadership, I for innovation, F for future, and E for entrepreneurship. So we'll definitely invite you and you will meet another set of exciting national and international speakers. But I also want to, because you talked of Professor Ramcharan, we will end the conference. We have Mr. Paranjeet Singh and Mr. Sandeep Kaul, who written a book called The Accountability Clock and how to get accountability from an engaged employee, accountability from employees now. But we end the day by a three-way conversation between me, Mr. Rajiv Verma, who is the CEO of Hindustan Times for 15 years, and he turned around the company, launched the Mumbai edition, launched Mint. But with him, we'll join another author of a very favorite book of mine. Professor Paul Kessler will also join in a three-way conversation. He wrote the book around Shackleton, Ernest Shackleton's Antarctic expeditions, and what can leaders learn from that book, which was written many, many years back, still has relevance, possibly more relevance today. So really, since you brought in a book, I just wanted to plug that in. And authors are my heroes. So I look forward to reading your book and recommending it to my circle of influence. Thank you so much.
All the best.